closed session meeting.
Support.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. We'll return back to our regular meeting. We'll go to County Finance, Commissioner Schneider.
We haven't decided what we're going to do.
I would like to make another motion to move forward and accept the recommendation of council.
Support. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion?
How would you, of the plans, how would you like to move forward? Allow me to sign, or would you like to wait until the rest of the parties involved have decided?
That would be part of my second, that we'd have the leeway to sign when appropriate council told me.
That sounds good.
Do we have any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Ron. You're welcome. Thank you, Sharon.
Now we'll move on to the County Finance and Administration. Commissioner Schneider.
Thank you. Motion to consider approving resolution number 15-4-7 to terminate the Board of Commissioners' participation in the Shiawassee County Health Plan.
You need an up-to-date, you need an agenda.
Oh, you snuck one in there? Okay. Okay, well, everything I just said, forget. Motion to consider approving the budget adjustments numbers 15-4 and numbers 15-5.
Support.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motions?
If I may. 15-4 is dealing with the veterans funding as is, and there's been some information that's come out in just the last couple of days, and I think before we make any decision on this is that we have time to go over this information and get correct with what, time to talk about it and think about it is before we jump on. So I would like to make a motion. I don't think I can do it at this moment, but basically to make the decision next meeting, not tomorrow, but next month.
Under discussion, let's discuss it. Actually, proper way would be make a motion, there would be a second, and then make a discussion, and if we don't want to act on the motion, then we can say, we can vote it down and put it on next month's agenda.
Over there, Jamie.
I handed out everyone prior to meeting the 2015 budget workshop sheet regarding veterans relief fund and monies, and I asked Cheryl to help clarify so that we can help move this forward, if you would, on what these changes would represent.
Sure. All this is a reallocation of amounts that you have already approved for the Special Revenue Fund. It's the Indigent Veterans Fund, 293, the Veterans Relief Fund. You approved $161,000 in spending for the 21-15 budget. That does not change. This is just a reallocation of expenses from a transfer to the general fund to other items, food, medical expenses, transportation, etc. So what happened is the $111,000 was originally for payroll expenses. That is no longer necessary because that's being paid out of a different fund. So Geraldine has asked that that be reallocated to other expenses. Did that help?
I hope so.
And with this sheet, if everyone wants to see it, I think we have it. It shows where that money's being allocated as per budgetary process, which we passed in the last year.
The payroll is no longer paid out of the general fund, so this is being put back to districts. So there's a motion on the table, that there's
discussion. Motion right now is consider approving both budget adjustments, 15-1 and 15-5. Do we have any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same.
No.
Aye. Motion carries. Move on to agenda item B.
Motion to consider approving resolution number 15-4-7 to terminate the Board of Commissioners' participation in the Shiawassee County Health Plan.
We have a motion and a second. Do you have any discussion on the motion?
If this passes today, I'd just like to point out that I was a commissioner one time before, and just by chance I ran across several of my budget worksheets from the early 90s. The County Board of Commissioners budget in 92 was $100,000. County Commissioner's budget in 91 was $110,000. In 1990 it was $103,000. Today it's $115,000. If part of the component of the benefits of which there's been a lot of discussion about go away, which appropriately would be about $50,000, $50,000 of our budget, the commissioner's budget would then drop into the area of the 1940s and 1950s. So all the talk about commissioners making too much money or doing so much, you might want to look at, there's a picture back up here in front of the courthouse of the former Board of Supervisors. That's the period that we would fall back into once, if all this passed. And again, I just want everybody to know that there wasn't a huge profit-making motive in being a county commissioner. I just hope everybody understands that. So, just like to point out, I have these old budgets. I'd also like to point out, and I have this too, this is kind of interesting, I have an employee sheet from 1985. We had 200 employees at that time, and today we're approximately around 100. And I noticed Tony stays, Tony here. Are you back?
Yeah.
No, Tony, obviously Carl. Craig Carl, was that his dad? Okay, Craig was, maybe, there's a lot of names out here, it's kind of fun to read. Of course, a lot of people are not with us anymore. But I'd like to point that out too, so if everybody has this thing about we're going to save money. Also, I'd like to express that there's been several things that we have to be an example to the other county employees. Well, last week when the county employees and department heads and elected officials got together, I was invited along with John to sit in on conversations about things that we need to look at for county activities, and again, you'll hear about several of them in this meeting today. But I asked the question pointedly, does the compensation that the commissioners receive in any way, shape, or form, does that impact how you feel about your pay or what's going to happen in the future? And several of them said it has no impact whatsoever, Mr. Plowman. That isn't what we're having a problem with, is having enough staffing levels to do our job. It has no bearing on what we make as to how they're going to perform. They're just really worried about if they're a person short in a day, they can't staff their offices. So that's their main thing. And of course, we're going from 285 to 100, approximately what is it, 100, 110 or whatever we are today. That's quite a structure down. So I want everybody to understand that this hasn't been spend. Thank you.
My opinion on this is and the others about the dealing with the county commissioners pay and benefits and such as about to come up, is that everybody in the county knows money is tight. The budget is real tight. It's been in the paper. It says that the Sheriff Road Patrol was hit for, I think it was $1.2 million, as is, and Because of that, they had to downsize significantly the road patrol. A lot more, almost every other department was asked to work on less money also, different amounts. Why are we not considering that it's, why are we considering that it's all right for the commissioners, even though we don't make much money or whatever? Why are we not taking our fair share of the load and downsizing what we're getting? It's not a lot of money, but it's every little bit helps when it comes to the final count. And I think that is the case. Is it's not the amount that we're having, or we're asked to give up, but we're asking everybody in the county to tighten their belts, and we should be in the same boat.
I think our pay would be higher. I think Mr. Ali, I don't take the health care, Les doesn't take it. I don't know, do you take it? So there's at least 4 of us that don't take it. So when Mr. Plowman said that our budget was way down, if we all took our health care, it would be probably another 50,000 or 60,000 miles. Maybe more than that. Costs $10,000 to $15,000 a person.
I agree totally. There's 3 commissioners taking health care. So 3 of us, by passing this, 3 people are going to take a cut. Mr. Snyder, Mr. Holzhausen, this isn't affecting you at all. You're losing nothing by the deal. This is more of an ongoing thing. It's just been a vendetta thing to take away from some of the other commissioners.
I disagree with vendetta. I pay my own health care and my wife's health care out of my own budget. So
I'd say that this has been talked about for decades, and it's time for us to lead by example. And this would save $33,200 years, and $200 year one when it starts in 2017, and that is just with 3 commissioners taking it. So if you think of future generations and future commissioners that potentially could take it, the numbers would be much higher. Fiscal year 2021, this is cumulative numbers, $197,620 that this was saved. That is another employee. That's a deputy almost. That's somebody in the treasurer's office. These are real numbers with real people involved. I think this is a good faith effort to help with the Shiawassee Council.
Go ahead. I can weigh in here. In the past, I've been very much concerned that the board that I share with all of you is not going to be fairly represented by the common people that our districts represent. I know I certainly represent the common people. I mean, we're not royalty here. Leading by example, I certainly get your point, but I know when I got elected, the example that I felt that we needed on the Board of Commissioners is to put careful thought into everything we do. This particular resolution, because of it taking effect in 2017, I want to say that I'm all for our reviewing the compensation that the board takes on. But I guess I believe that we should explore that issue. And since we do have a couple of new members aboard, I think we should explore that issue after some experience and weigh into it. Since we really do have time to talk about this. And I think perhaps that's something we should always consider. We should always be thinking of adjusting the compensation according to where we're at with the economy. I don't see any problem with that at all, and that makes perfectly good sense, and it should definitely be in balance with the sacrifices that we're asking everybody to make. I don't know whether or not on a group plan, I just don't know this, whether or not there can be an adjustment in terms of the amount that's paid in. I mean, currently it's at 20%, the amount that's paid in. Whether or not there are advantages that we're getting from being a part of the group plan that just are not afforded to us. Who knows? Maybe we could be a part of that group plan and still pay for our own and still find ourselves being able to cover health insurance for the, the board members of the future, and give them a better deal. So I really think we should ponder those issues, since we've got time. This is just going to be coming about in 2017, and if we're in a hurry to do this, I think it looks like we're not putting the thought into it. If we're in a hurry to pay commitments we feel that the contributors to our campaign have given us, I think we're making a mistake. I think that is the example of, that's kind of a bad example. I feel as though my contributors, the people who gave me the little bits of things that go into campaigning, it wasn't very much. Both of my campaigns were at less than $1,000 level. I feel as though my contributors say, do what you think is fit. Do what you think is fit. And that's why voting against this, I'm doing what I think is fit. I think we should review our compensation policy. No question about that. In fact, I think, if we could make that become a normal routine, I'd be glad for it. But as far as feeling as though we're ready to make the most prudent choice about this matter, at this time, I think the example that should be set is we're going to choose prudence.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anything else?
If you could look at the picture on that wall, I spoke to two of those former commissioners, and they both said they've been discussing this for 20, 25 years. So there is experience in this. And as far as campaign and governance, they're two separate entities, and sometimes I feel like people mix those. And there are people out there who are great campaigners and terrible leaders in politics. You have to separate them. So the campaign stuff should have ended with the entities chambers. This is about governance and good governance. And ending generous government benefits and perks is prudent in 2015 with our fiscal reality.
Anything else?
It's been brought up here just a little bit ago, is that, we're acting like we have a vendetta amongst the other commissioners, and that's not true. When I decided to run for office, I was not going to take anything but base pay. And for the last 2.5 years, I take nothing but base pay. No buyout, no mileage, no meeting pay, no nothing. And that's saving around, roughly, it's approximately $14,000 a year that stays in the county's coffers that can be used for other purposes. Which added up with the other commissioners, the four of you, I'm sure it's not that amount, but it still adds up to, as Hartman suggested, it's enough to put one more person to work for the county, which is ultimately what we want to do. And we should share our share of the load. Thank you.
All right, do we have anything else? Want to continue? We'll go with the vote then. I'll say something real quick. I don't think it has so much to do with whether our county employees think it matters to them. I know what I heard was a lot from the people whose doors I knocked on, who said, it's a part-time job. You expect them to get full-time benefits? It just seemed like the people, I think the people are making less and less too, and it's kind of affecting them. That, they're struggling, they're having a hard time getting their benefits, and they're working 2 jobs. I mean, they're working a full-time job, a part-time job, and, husband and wife both, and they're trying to struggle just to make their insurance payments, and we're sitting here putting in a week a month, maybe a little bit more. And, I think it is a good faith effort. I think most of us do have health care. I think most of us have options. I just think it's a good thing to move forward with.
It's not necessarily true that most of us automatically have options.
There's an Affordable Care Act out there.
Pardon?
There's an Affordable Health Care Act out there. It's been affordable right in the
Okay, let's go ahead and move to a vote. Can we go roll call, please? Roll call.
Commissioner Horvath?
No.
Commissioner Holshouser?
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes.
Commissioner Boats?
No.
Commissioner Plummer?
No.
Commissioner Arlen?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood?
Yes.
Motion to consider approving resolution number 15-04-08 to terminate the Board of Commissioners' participation in the Shiawassee County Pension Plan.
A motion and a second, is there any discussion on the motion?
This piece is a little different. This would save $3,324 a year. Not a huge number like the healthcare, but last year the decision was made to move some employees from a B2 pension plan to a C1 pension plan, and it saved approximately $100,000 already. And so there's talk about fairness within the system for those who are not paying into versus those who are. So this is our way to a small piece of the puzzle to move perhaps other employees into that C1 plan, and it shows that we're willing, again, a good faith effort to share and sacrifice after some already have, and it showed $100,000 in savings from decisions made last year. So a different piece of the puzzle, but again, the state of Michigan stopped the defined benefit in 1997, Oakland County in 1994. We go into that again, but a different piece, but the same goal is to move along in the negotiations talk to show that we are sacrificing. I mean, others already have, and I think it's another, this might be more towards the employees rather than the people. This shows them that we're here for public service because we care about our communities, we care about the people we represent.
I'm far from being vested myself, so I'm not really thinking of it in that terms. But I do want to ask you, since we're asking others to go into a different pension plan, are other pension plans available for commissioners?
Not at this time, no. And that's something we could look into, For instance, when the Oakland County and the state of Michigan, they went to the 401k pension plan or 401k system. That's something that we might have to look to in the future for everybody, but judging by the talks last year, I don't foresee that as a near-term option, but something that should be in the pipeline, absolutely.
Just a little history on this. I was county commissioner when the pension plan for commissioners was approved. At that time, the federal government, made those change laws about Social Security. And they left an option for governmental officials at that time, such as Board of Commissioners or those people like that, or city government or whatever, that if there was a pension plan, you didn't have to pay Social Security. Well, that did change. I'm not sure when it changed, but I was in the 90s. I was not a commissioner anymore in the mid-90s. And so then the pension stayed on and you made your contributions, and you also paid Social Security out of your pay. So, but in our thinking, if there was a pension program back in the 80s into the 90s, and there was Social Security, wouldn't it be better to work on the pension too, because you're going to get Social Security too. 10 years vested for most commissioners, that's not going to happen. Again, I kind of go on with John, that if you want to pay into it, but you have to be here 10 years, for most county commissioners, that is, if you paid into it, you're not going to be vested. But if you thought you could win 5 elections and maybe be vested, I guess that would be your call. The pension, I don't mind saying it, I've told you this, you have to take it at 59.5, I believe, or when that pension time. And my pension was 118 with survivors. So I've been getting $118 a month since 59.5, and I'll be 66 in tomorrow. So the thing is, it's not very much, but it was something. So that's kind of the history. So I want you to understand that this wasn't And again, I believe, I go with John, that even it should be left for the decision of the commissioner if he wants to be in the pension program. Obviously, if you're not vested, it didn't do much good, did it?
Yeah, my feeling is most commissioners won't be here 10 years anyway, so what money we pay into there is not going to be much, so I think we could just leave that pension thing in there. That's my feeling.
I agree, there will only be, with these changes, only 2 people will be vested at the time, but I think we have to look at the big picture where we have $26 million in unfunded liabilities. Our OPEB is 0% funded, and, you know, saving $100,000 when you have $26 million unfunded is a drop in the bucket. This is another way, a small piece in the puzzle to move things along where we can finally work towards sustainable pension plan, basically, and that's what this is about.
The same argument comes up from last time to this time, but my point is that who else in the county working less than part-time hours are even eligible for a pension? There's a lot of people, as you mentioned, as Chair, is that they're working a full-time and a part-time job, and a huge amount of them are still cannot, get a pension out of it. So why are we putting basically ourselves above the average person out there? Because without the commissioner in front of our name, we're just other plain people.
I think the pension is based on your pay, so pay's not much, so if you're here for 10 years, like John said, you're going to be getting $100 or $200, so I think you could just leave it in there. It's not a big deal. It's not going to save any money.
It doesn't save money. It saves $3,324 a year, but the big picture is you converted some people to B2 to C1, which changes morale in certain offices because some are contributing to their pensions and some are not. And that's a real problem. And so with them paying in, us receiving them, again, only 2 people are in them, but it moves things forward when you want to bring up the conversation to other entities or other groups of county employees to possibly consider a contribution into the pension, which again, $26 million in unfunded liabilities, which is a real problem. And our pension system is funded 63%. That's unhealthy.
Anything else?
I'm just going to comment briefly on this. I I so much want us to review the whole compensation package. That I just, I think we should take this subject on. We can have a discussion that is just related to maybe thinking about what it is that we're going to need to fill these seats in the future, and because that could be a dilemma. I'm not saying that the pension plan is going to save us on this matter. It probably isn't. But the thing is, I can see a future where very few people are interested in becoming a commissioner, not because they are willing to put in the time, but because it is a pure sacrifice of their time. For me, I don't have money to speak of. I do have time, and that's why I enjoy doing this. Is the good use of my time that I feel as though I can contribute to the county. Like I say, I'm not a target for this pension plan. It's just not going to happen. I'm pretty sure. But the thing is, I want to be sure that others are feeling as though this is a worthwhile thing to do. So I don't want to give up on things, on talking about compensation.
Roll call vote.
This doesn't go into effect until 2017, so none of this affects anybody sitting here. And actually, for the commissioner, it's only going to be around for 4 years, 6 years. It'll actually be a pay increase for him, because the commissioner that does not get vested is just paying in to the fund that's helping the other employees. And I think we're wasting an awful lot of time on this, when we should be concentrating our time on straightening out the pension plan that our county employees have. We've taken pay away from our non-representative employees, and yet we've never fulfilled the entire thing. And it's been very unfair, and it's wasted a lot of time not covering the things that we really should be spending our time on.
I absolutely agree with part of that, that it doesn't take effect till 2017, so it doesn't affect us, but the point that I think we're missing is this does help when you're going to negotiations to ask those people to contribute, and that's the bottom line. When you can go into a negotiation and say, this group has gone from a B2 to a C1, we've eliminated our pension, what are you willing to do? And that is what this is about. It's not a waste of time. This is a money saver when you're looking at other entities on contributing to the pension in the long term.
Okay. Call for a roll call vote?
Yes.
Let's move to a vote.
Commissioner Olshausen,
No.
Commissioner Schneider,
We are voting to approve this or disapprove this?
To approve.
To approve.
This motion.
I vote yes.
Commissioner Barnes,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
No.
Commissioner Howie,
Yes.
Commissioner Horvath,
No.
Commissioner Rowe.
Yes. Motion carries. Move on to agenda item D.
Motion to consider approving resolution number 15-4-9 to eliminate mileage reimbursement for the Board of Commissioners.
Support. A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess, me again?
We're the same 3 items here.
There's probably a few angles in which I want to approach this on, and hopefully you can go with me on this. You know, probably the most significant one is the economics that we're looking at here. Let's start off with the fact that nobody needs to take their mileage. Okay, if we don't really, I mean, for those who don't want to put mileage in their pocket, they don't have to, you know. When we're taking mileage, I hope everybody in the public realizes that it only involves our going to the meetings that we're assigned to. And that's a front statement for all of us. And in some cases, well, first of all, when we brought this up in discussion earlier this week, apparently, and I didn't even think of it this way so much as, you know, the fact that we basically run home offices. I mean, we have, you know, we're available to the public on a general basis, you know, at all times, ready to take phone calls and do things. So when we make, you know, we make the trip in here to do our meetings, some people are traveling at a much greater distance than I do. I live in Owasso. But some people are traveling at a much greater distance. And I think that when this was brought forward, this was probably proposed to balance that situation out. So you have commissioners that come 9 miles, I don't know, 12 miles,
Yeah.
whatever, you know, and different distances in order to, you know, arrange to be at the meetings that are here, well, the meetings that are even outside of the county. You know, and I serve on a few of those boards myself at this time. And so you do have these traveling expenses that go along with what we're doing here. As I mentioned before, time is something I have to offer, so I love taking on those commitments. But the, the money is something I don't have. I'm not saying that I would be reluctant to still continue to do this if I wasn't being compensated for the mileage. I feel that commitment very strongly, and so I'm inclined to keep it up. But it bothers me to think that we wouldn't be influencing anybody who has to have the time to give it, but just doesn't have the money in their pocket. I mean, I think this goes back to our forefathers virtually, that the reason why we compensate elected officials in some capacity, at least for how they're going to get from one place to another, is because it would only be the privilege that would be allowed to rule, and if this was Parliament or something, I certainly would be in the House of the Commoners, not the Lords. And it's just, I see this, and like I say, from an economic standpoint, I think it would look a little foolish cutting expense that helps us to do our job. I mean, I think that looks a little silly. That's my point.
All right, I just have something to say.
Roll call, please.
All right, I'm just going to say something. I agree. There are things that come with a job that you do. I think I do have a difference of opinion in this. I do think with a salary, with meeting per diems and mileage, I mean, you're still getting. I don't think the pension and the health care is really going to draw on whether someone wants to do this job or doesn't. I think there's still a salary. There's still per diems, and there's a chance to still be mileage. So I think with that is, just my thoughts on it.
All I want to say is that this was brought to our attention last month when we went through this. It was mentioned that the changes that we presented don't take effect till 2017, and we need to keep our eyes on the prize and do something now. This is the only thing legally that we can change now that would take effect this year immediately, the first pay period of May, to try to save the county money. It would be probably about $3,000 this year. Next year, probably $5,000. Because last year, there's $3,000 budgeted. We went over $2,004.35. There is still a budget of $1,000 for other county commissioner mileage for having the port here on and things of that nature. The only thing I would add is that you can write off your mileage on your taxes. And this is a way to diminish the burden on the county. That being said, points well taken, John. I appreciate that.
Well, if I may just add, or ask actually, perhaps you know more about taxes. I don't qualify. Today is tax day, isn't it? I qualify. I don't qualify for any kind of itemized.
File a long form to be able to get mileage.
Yeah. So
That's a right off.
All right.
Let's move to a vote. Yes, for a roll call vote. Let's move to a vote.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes.
Commissioner Gertz?
No.
Commissioner Plowman?
No?
Commissioner Aui?
No.
Commissioner Horvath?
no.
Commissioner Olshausen?
You heard correctly.
Commissioner Rowe?
All right, we'll move on to agenda item E.
Motion to consider authorizing the county clerk to hire a deputy circuit court clerk to refill a vacancy at pay grade 3 with a salary range of $24,774 to $30,309.
Second?
The motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Move on to agenda item F.
Motion to consider authorizing the prosecutor to hire an assistant prosecutor to refill a vacancy at pay grade 10 with a salary range of $45,284 to $55,400. 402.
Support.
A motion and a second, do we have any discussion on the motion? Proceed with a vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same.
Nay.
Motion carries. Move on to agenda item G.
Motion to consider approving the Mears Defined Benefit Plan Adoption Agreement for Division 16 Health Care Code with an effective date of April 1, 2015, and authorize the county clerk to sign same.
A motion and a second. Have any discussion on the motions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Agenda item H.
Motion to consider authorizing the replacement of panels and breakers in the courts and health building in the amount of $19,520 to be paid out of the Capital Improvement Fund account 401-267-970.000.
Support.
The motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Agenda item I.
Motion to consider authorizing the replacement of the south wing roof at the Corrections Building in the amount of $41,582 from account 101-267-970.000.
Support.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries.
Motion to consider authorizing the replacement of the Surbeck Building roof in the amount of $26,800 to be paid out of the Capital Improvement Fund account 401-267-970.000.
Support.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? We'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries. Agenda item K.
Motion to consider approving resolution number 15-4-10 to apply for Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funds in the amount of $300,000 for the next grant cycle to fund the Shiawassee County Housing Rehabilitation Program.
Motion and a second. We have any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries.
Motion to consider approving resolution -15-4-12, adoption of county equalization 2015. Per Pete Preston will provide at meeting.
Support.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion carries.
Motion, discussion of manpower, is that a motion?
Just a discussion.
A discussion of manpower issues for court departments and the prosecutor's office.
Mr. Chairman. Just to reiterate, we had no anticipation that the state police would be more than up to the challenge of covering the road patrol. We knew state police has been in Island County every month forever, but they certainly upped their hours, and as a resulting of that, there's been more tickets issued, more activity on law enforcement. We've gone